Hi everyone, Amber here from Majestic. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are sewing up the cutest pattern. It is part of the Marathon Society. So this pattern is called the MyUno, and it is from Kiteco Creates. Thank you so much, Jill, for allowing us to feature your pattern. So this is so much fun because there's many different options that you can do. I chose to do a pouch version with a grab handle. Jill also shows you how you can make it with a crossbody strap, add on strap connectors on the top or the sides. On the back, you could add a extra zipper pocket. On the inside, you could put a slip pocket. I just did a very basic pouch. I think this is great for cosmetics or travel, and I love that it has the grab handle to easily pick it up. So I didn't put any of the extras on. I went with a cork exterior and a quilting cotton lining. I am happy that I did because I do sew on a domestic and I used very thin interfacing. If you sew on a domestic, the bottom box corners can get a little bit thick. So I would be very mindful of that. If you are sewing on an industrial, you could probably sew with anything. Just be mindful that you are turning through a little hole. So if you're using vinyl, you probably want to use a blow dryer to kind of soften it up for you. So this pattern is so much fun. This is the first time I actually have done box corners like this. And I love it because it makes them so that they're kind of sewn into the pattern and the lining isn't saggy. So I really enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Please check out all the other sewists that are participating in the marathon today. I will have them linked in the description, as well as a link to Kiteco Creates, where you can find all of Jill's patterns. She has a whole bunch. She also has a YouTube channel where she has tutorials for her patterns as well. I will link it. The other thing that I do want to add is Jill is from New Zealand. So if you are in the United States, when you are printing your pattern, I did have to change it to poster size to fit on the letter size paper. The pattern pieces on my printer would not work. So just be mindful. You might want to test print one page before you print all your pattern pieces. So again, enjoy. If you do like it, please consider subscribing or giving me a thumbs up. Helps my channel grow, and I appreciate it so much. All right, so I have all my pieces cut for the MyUno bag. I have chosen to use a cork for the exterior. This is a Portuguese cork, and I ordered it from a supplier myself. The backing is woven. I did not add any interfacing on this. It does have some structure because cork is wood, plus the woven backing, but also I just didn't want to put any heat on it. And also I don't mind if my pouch gets squished. So if you want a more structured bag, I would recommend this if you are making the purse version. You might want to put a sturdier interfacing. And then for the interior, I am using a cotton woven. I have just fused it with the Pro Fuse Fusible from Wawak. It's like a Pellon SF101 equivalent, and it's very affordable. I really, really do like it. The cotton woven is a fat quarter from Joann's before they went out of business. What was nice is that I was able to cut all the lining from a fat quarter. I'm not putting the exterior pocket on the outside or a slip lining on the inside. I just want the pouch. So you might need more material if you're doing that. What is also great is that Jill gives us these little cutouts. So you know, and you can have all your pieces labeled. This is going to be our front top. Again, I have the lining and the exterior and the back lining exterior. I am using this zipper tape. We used to carry this in our shop. We're currently out of stock. We call it our over the rainbow tape. If this is something that you really like, let us know. If there's enough interest, we'll bring it back in stock. So I'm going to use that for my front zipper. I also have this size 5 rainbow zipper pull. It's double-sided enamel. This is from Geeky Hardware, also known as Wizardry, Stitchery, and Crafts. And for the handle, I have this scrap of webbing left over. This is the polypropylene type. As you can see, it really does fray at the end. I'm going to cut this down to size and use heat to seal it. Because this is a smaller pouch and it's not so heavy, I'm going to use this. I don't like using the polypropylene. I prefer the seatbelt webbing for larger bags, but for a smaller pouch, this is going to be fine. And I'm making sure that the ends are far enough into the seam allowance. So these are all the pieces that I'm going to be using to make the bag. And next, I'll show you the tools and thread that I'll use. All right, and these are the tools that I'll be using. I have plenty of clips. This is Text 35 thread, also from Wizardry Stitchery. I believe it's the unicorn mane. The label has fallen off the top. I use this in both the top and the bobbin of my domestic. I'm going to sew with a 9014 Microtex needle. That is my favorite, even though the layers aren't so thick on this one, but with the cork, I really love the Microtex. I have a pair of snips, seam ripper, stiletto combo, 3 different marking pens. This is a water soluble, my chalk marking pen, and a silver marking pen, a small ruler, and a lighter just to heat seal the edges. If there's any other tools that I use as I go along, I will let you know. All right, so I am not making the purse version. So it starts out with making the crossbody strap or the handles or strap connectors. So I'm not doing any of that. The handle, I am using the webbing, so I don't need to worry about doing a 4-fold method and making any handle. So I'm jumping right to the step with the front zipper. So this is my A1 piece exterior, the front top. So I am going to put my zipper teeth side facing down, and I have it longer than what it's supposed to be. I like trimming it after. And I am just going to clip this in place. I also don't have my zipper pull on right now. It makes it much easier to sew without having to worry about moving the pull out of the way. Okay, and so I am going to take this to the machine and just baste across at 1/8 of an inch using a large stitch length just to hold my zipper in place. All right, so I have just basted this zipper on. So now I am going to take the lining, my A1 lining, and put it right side facing down. So basically my exterior and my lining are right sides together, and the zipper is sandwiched in between. And I'm going to clip this into place. And now I'm going to sew with the seam allowance given in the pattern. I'm also going to switch to my zipper foot, which will make it easier because there's the teeth. All right, so I have just stitched across. So now we are folding this so the wrong sides are together. And I want to make sure I'm really pressing this. If I was using quilting cotton or something that's pressable for the outside, I would do that. Because I'm using cork, I am just finger pressing it. So I am going to take this to the machine, and I am going to top stitch across the top of the zipper, but I'm going to baste the outside edge around as well. So I'm going to put this on the longest stitch length and use that for both the top stitch and the basting. Okay, so I have just top stitched all the way around, holding that lining into place. So now I need my A2 piece, which is also the front. We're going to repeat the same steps now, but for the bottom here, I grabbed the wrong thing. I grabbed B. Sorry. Here's my A2. I'm like, it's curved up top. So I only need my exterior to start, and I am going to put my teeth tape side down. So because I did not trim this to the very edge, what I am going to do is I'm pulling this top piece back, lining up the edges here, and then sliding it up. And that way I know that my cork sides are aligned. If it's easier for you, you could mark the centers to do that. That would probably be a smart idea and helpful. Or you could trim your zipper tape. And I'm just going to clip this into place. We're going to baste it just like what we did for the top part. So again, this would be the teeth of the zipper is touching the exterior. And that way, so when this gets folded open, our zipper will be here. And I'm also just folding it back so I can check to make sure that the sides are aligned. So now I'm going to bring this to the machine and base stitch this across the top. Great, so I have my zipper basted along. When I fold it open, it looks great. Now I'm going to take my A2 lining piece and put it right sides together. Again, I'm just folding this back so I'm matching it up to the sides. If you had marked the center, you can mark the center or match the center, I mean. Just clipping along. And I just like leaving my zippers longer just so more catches in the seam allowance. I feel like it's sturdier, so that's why I do that. Okay. And again, so we should have our lining right side down against the cork. It is going over the top of the zipper with the zipper teeth still facing down. So that way after we sew it, it will fold completely open. So I'm going to take this, put my zipper foot back on, and stitch at the given seam allowance. Okay, so again, I have it stitched along the top. So now I'm going to fold this back, and I'm also folding this top flap up as well. And then really making sure this is aligned and pulled down. I don't want to make sure, like when I top stitch this, I want to make sure this doesn't ripple. So what you can do that might be helpful is to clip along the sides, because we are going to top stitch the zipper. So again, I'm going to take this to the machine. I am going to baste along the top here and then down. Okay, so you might be wondering why the video's cut kind of funny. And that's because in the original, I had just told you to baste all the way around when you top stitch, and that is incorrect. I was doing the same thing like we did along the top, but we need our lining loose. So once you have basted your zipper, you are going to fold it back and only top stitch across the zipper here. Do not baste your sides or your bottom together yet, or otherwise you will not be able to turn your bag. So I apologize, but that's why it was kind of clipped a little bit funny. So now I'm going to do two things. I am going to just trim down my zipper tape. That side I just kind of cut off the fuzzies. And if you have a lighter, you can singe the edge. That will melt it so it doesn't fray. All right, and so once you've top stitched, now we need to add our zipper pull. I'm right-handed, so I start from the right-hand side. I've trimmed down my zipper tape. I've still left it overhanging a little bit. That's just personal preference. I like it in the seams. So I always start on the right-hand side, adding a tooth or two into the right, and then on the left. And if I can get it done correctly, I'll know it's correct because I can kind of like balance it here. And then if it's aligned, I usually can just kind of push it on with with my pointer fingers. And then I'm going to pull this to the center. Great, so now we're going to attach the handle. I have cut it to the measurement given in the pattern. This type of webbing frays really easily, so I am making sure that I melt that really well. You can see it has like, I just burnt myself. I didn't let it dry and that just hit me. You can see it has a very loose weave, so you really want to make sure that that gets melted down, even more so than seatbelt webbing. And like I said in my intro, that this is not going to be very heavy, so I feel comfortable using this, but I wouldn't use it for a very heavy backpack. I would use seatbelt or cotton webbing. So now I have marked my center. I've used some chalk just so it's removable, and 2 points, the same measurement out from the center. So I am going to line up the left-hand side. On the left-hand side, I'm going to line up the right edge to that mark, and I want it overhanging. I'm leaving about a ½ an inch or so, just so that way it's really caught in that seam allowance. And the same thing over here, lining up the left edge on this side here. Okay, so that's what it will look like when it's folded open. So I am going to take it to the machine and just base stitch this into place. I am going to run a few stitches back and forth across it, just really making sure that this is secure. All right, so now I have that basted in place. It looks great. So now I need my B back exterior. I am going to put it right side facing down. I'm going to fold this lining out of the way, and I'm matching up my bottom edge here. And I'm just going to clip this into place. And then I'm going to bring this to the machine and stitch along the bottom at the seam allowance given in the pattern. And I'm only stitching along the bottom here. Okay, so I've just stitched along the bottom without my lining in the seam allowance. So now you can open this up, and from the wrong side, you can kind of butterfly this open. If you have like one of the seam rollers, that would be really helpful. You could use some double-sided tape or just finger press. And I am going to just finger press it, but then I'm going to take it to the machine and top stitch down one side and then back up the other, catching both edges. Okay, so I have just top stitched down both sides of the bottom. It's holding my seam back. So now I'm going to put this right sides together. So my exterior sides are facing each other with my lining up. And now I'm going to take my back lining and put it right sides facing down on top of the front lining. So basically my two linings are right sides together and my two exterior. And I'm going to clip along the outside edge. We're going to sew that, but you want to make sure that you are catching all 4 layers. So, I mean, if you wanted to base this first, you could. What I'm going to do is just kind of clip what I have first right here. Just so I'm making sure that my layers are all matched up, like my exterior is matching. And I think it's just easier for me this way to make sure that I'm going to catch all 4 layers. Your lining should be a little bit lower. We're not worrying about this on the bottom. We're only worried about the sides and the top. Okay, so now I'm going to put this right sides together, and you can see I think it's going to make it a little bit easier to match up, and I can just now slightly just remove those clips and attach or clip this anyway on. Yeah, that worked really well. Okay, so I'm going to bring it to the machine. I'm going to start on one side, work my way all the way around at the given seam allowance, making sure I backstitch at the beginning and the end. Do not sew this bottom closed. Great, so I have stitched all the way around. That worked out great. Now it's easier to work from this side because we're going to fold back our exterior. We don't want to accidentally sew this. We only need the bottoms of our linings, and we are going to just clip them together. And this is what we're turning through, so just making sure they're lying flat. And you can see one of them's a little bit longer than the other, so I should trim this to match. So now I'm going to take it to the machine, and I'm going to sew about 1 inch in on either side. That's just going to make it easier when we box our corners, but it will leave a turning hole in the center. So you're only doing about 1 inch on each side at the given seam allowance, leaving that turning hole in the lining and making sure you're not catching your exterior in that. All right, so we have just stitched here, and now we have our turning hole. Oh man, the other thing I did not say, but I can reach up and do it, is to open up your zipper a little bit. I'm going to put it into the video, but if you're using a size 5, usually you can open it up. So that's what I just did. All right. So what we're going to do is, with our exterior only, we are going to match up our side seam with the bottom to box our corners. And we're kind of just keeping our lining out of the way. And you can pin or clip this. I'm going to clip it and see how it works, because we're actually turning this through the bag. You can also staple it. If it doesn't work, if the clips don't work, I might have to do something like that. I'm worried about when I turn it, but I'm going to try it with clips first. Okay, the same thing here. I'm matching up the exterior side with the bottom and clipping it. So now what we need to do is reach into this gap and basically turn this right side facing out. And I'm glad I didn't put a lot of interfacing and no interfacing at all on the cork, because I think this would be quite hard. So I'm going to try to turn it without messing up those clips. But I don't know. We'll see. If I need to go back inside and reclip them or ending up stapling them, I'll do that. I'm just pushing this through gentle. If you were using vinyl, you could use a blow dryer. All right, so I got it right side out, or lining side out. So now I'm pulling it through to get that exterior side out. Perfect. This is what we want. Right? Oh, cool. Okay, I lied. Just kidding. I don't want to do that yet. I do want to keep it like this, because what we're going to do is through the lining here. There we go. Okay, so once you turn it, like lining side out, you'll notice that the clips are tucked under the lining. But what you want to do is pull your exterior through this opening in the bottom and turn the lining also wrong side facing out. So what ends up happening is you're going to have your box corners lined up together. Your exterior on one side, your lining on the other. And because you're coming up through this hole, that once we stitch this, it's going to get poked out and you're going to have no exposed seams. So some people make these bags and then they bind it. So this is a great way, so you don't need binding. So again, once I turned it through the zipper, I had the exterior in that lining opening, and the box corner of the lining I've also put right sides together, so they've matched up here. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. So again, this is my lining opening, and by putting that exterior, because the lining is attached to one side already, it really just wants to kind of turn with it. And for these, I'm just nesting my seam allowances, so making sure that they line up, and you can see my lining is going one way, my exterior the other. So now I'm going to bring them both to the machine and stitch across. It is a larger seam allowance than what we are doing, and you want to make sure you're catching both your lining and your exterior in those stitch across those two box corners. All right, so that is now sewn up both box corners. So what I'm going to do is really just push these out, and you can see this is why we did that about an inch stitch in, because this is where we're going to close up our lining. Really just making sure that that looks good. And then now I like poking my fingers in and just kind of giving a tug, and usually it wants to kind of fold at the correct seam allowance. It's a little bit tricky because the exterior is kind of pushing against it, like I could feel it. You could hand sew this, but I hate hand sewing. So I am just folding this down, and I am going to top stitch this closed at my machine. And I'm just making sure I'm flipping all the way across, and I'm just going to be as careful as I can not to catch that exterior. I'm going to have to squish this to make sure I can get it into my machine, but I can feel my exterior here and here, so I should be okay to only catch that light. Okay, so I have just stitched up the bottom. It was a little bit difficult getting it under my presser foot. Glad I didn't use much thicker materials. So now we're just going to turn the rest out through this zipper. So, and just very gently turn it. And I'm just reaching inside with my hand, poking out the bottom. It's nice how we did those box corners, because I don't really have to worry about the lining being saggy or anything. It's caught into that box corner, so it fits very, very nicely. And same thing with this box corner here. And then for the top, you can just really make sure that you are poking it out. It's a little bit more difficult to poke it out up here. I do have a chopstick from Takeout. And I just like to kind of poke that against the seam. It has a blunt enough end that it's not going to rip into my seam. And the same thing over here. All right, and the nice thing is that this stands up on its own, and you can see that I didn't even put interfacing on the cork, and it's still standing up. And so inside you can see that the lining fits really, really nice. Close that up here. I have my grab handle. Jill does say that sometimes she top stitches along this top part here and puts a rivet in. I probably could put the rivet in. I'm not going to, because it's I'm not going to put a whole bunch of stuff. I don't think it's going to pull out. And I'm definitely not going to top stitch it because I know I'm sewing on a domestic and this would be way too thick for my machine. But this is the MyUno pouch. It's super cute. I think this would make a great gift. It came together really quickly. If you've never done box corners like this, it's a really cool way to do them. I don't know if I've ever done a box corner like that. A lot of times I just end up binding them. So that was a really great experience, something fun to learn. And I hope you enjoy the pattern as much as I did. All right, everyone, we have just finished up the MyUno. It is so adorable. I cannot wait to use this and add all my makeup into it. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Jill from Kiteco Creates, for allowing us to feature your pattern. Let me know in the comments if you end up making one, if you choose to do a pouch or a crossbody. I would love to see any photos of any that you make. Thank you again. Please check out the other YouTubers who are featuring videos today for the Marathon Society. I hope you enjoy, and hopefully I'll see you next month for the next marathon. Thanks. Bye, everyone.